Thank you so much. So for this closing session, we are waiting for our executive, Massamba Thioye, to come to the room. We have the privilege again, as I mentioned before, to have Alfonso Blanco from Olade. Alfonso was part of the opening, so we are very happy to have him as part of the closing. I'd like to invite Olade and Alfonso Blanco to say a few words at this closing. Thank you, Alfonso, for being here.
Thank you very much, Carlos. It's a real pleasure to join all this day here regarding innovation with the Global Innovation Hub, and for Olade it's a real pleasure and an honor to be part of this important activity within the Energy Day in the COP27 this year. I want to highlight one important issue regarding innovation and the role of the Global Innovation Hub. Is the great effort to put all together the different stakeholders around the world and to share experiences regarding the new technologies and what is the role of the innovation in the energy transitions around the world. And this is a very important work that is done for the Innovation Hub of UNFCCC, and we are really honored to be part of it. Regarding the role of regarding the role of the hydrogen in the energy transitions, I am completely convinced that hydrogen will have a key role in the energy transitions and the decarbonization of the energy matrix around the world. And but there are important challenges for the hydrogen development around the world, because we have the resources, we have the possibility, we have the technology, but we need to create the market in order to develop the hydrogen as a real solution for the decarbonization and a real solution for to substitute the fossil fuels in most of some particular end uses of energy. One of the role of the hydrogen is to work in the transport sector in some industries that are highly dependent of fossil fuels, and to reduce the use of fossil fuels in that kind of end use of energy. During the day, the different discussions demonstrated that hydrogen is an opportunity. Hydrogen is a solution for the decarbonization of the global energy matrix, and that is the effort, and that is the discussion that we want to have with all the agencies that are involved in this important effort to promote the innovation, to promote the creation of knowledge around the energy transitions. Really, thank you very much, Carlos, for the invitation. For Olade, it's a real pleasure to join all this activity, and congratulations for the great results of it.
Thank you very much for this very inspiring words. Alfonso, it's a pleasure to have Olade and to have you here. You've been instrumental in also supporting countries, supporting the ministries of energy in Latin America and the Caribbean, and now creating the links outside this region and bringing also the connections to other countries, other regions in the world. So we look very much forward to see also the result of your Energy Week, and we will be very much active on that, and also bring this space of innovation to really help the regions to advance in their plans, understanding what is needed, and with the enablers that we have in the previous sessions, also work together to assist and support countries in the implementation of the NGCs and long-term strategies. With this, I would like to move to the next part of this closing session. For this, I really would like to thank FCA for being instrumental in most of the sessions that we have today. And I know that, Peter, you have prepared some materials for the closing that summarize and put together the wish list we were discussing before. Peter, you have the floor.
Great. And Carlos, if you like, stay with us. Maybe we can chat over one or two things. It's been a long day. Thank you for those that are still here. Some might still, though, watch this online or look at it afterwards. And I think it's important we give some dedication to summarizing some of the takeaways, because we have had very dense sessions today, interesting sessions today. And I would like to, maybe I can do it myself, click through some of these findings. Session 2 this morning, if you weren't there, the room was packed and there was a lot of discussion on what is realistically possible with hydrogen. So a couple of key takeaways our team has prepared. Number 1, we need certification. We've heard that again and again, Carlos, over the day. So we need to know what is green hydrogen. Second, and I couldn't agree more, if you hear fancy stories on future uses of hydrogen in fields such as automotive mobility or so that could be better decarbonized without hydrogen, we need hydrogen for those fields where we have no other solution. Fertilizer production, steel, parts of high temperature processes. So we need to prioritize. Third one, scale up supply and demand together. One alone will not work. You need to scale up both at the same time. Some of the panelists called it the chicken and egg problem. What do we scale first? Last one, make it bankable. Make cross-border investments easier. Make the things on hydrogen that lack total investment simpler. Carlos, is that all okay, or do you have thoughts to add on that one?
Thank you so much. Thank you. This resonates very much with the wish list and with what we hear. I'm just looking at this and trying to visualize how do you see our work plan based on these concrete key messages, takeaways towards COP28?
That's a very good question. Let's go through the other sessions and then let's make a work plan. Session number 3, we talked heavy industry. So we spoke about those sectors where we will need hydrogen. Interesting perspective from Germany. It's just not enough renewable energy to cover the energy consumption for production of hydrogen. The pipeline network might be adapted and hydrogen might be imported through the North Sea ports. Second, and this is very important, whenever you hear this is the silver bullet solution, it isn't. There is no, and I'm not talking only about hydrogen. You hear silver bullet solutions everywhere. Usually there is no silver bullet. It's a mix of measures that don't that don't prohibit each other or that don't make each other possible. So carbon capture and storage, for example, in cement, we will need in advance to hydrogen. Last, challenges in the steel industry, the availability, the transport infrastructure, technical implementation, and the cost. And Carlos, we've heard that all over the day, right? Drive down the cost. That's so important. So we'll put that on the work plan.
Correct. And I'm looking to the pipeline network can be adapted. And I think this was also one of the very important cross-cutting discussions in the sessions today, particularly on this one, when our NRB representatives was mentioning they need to bring the energy and they have already the pipeline coming from northern Germany to NRB. They have limited conditions to produce all the renewable that is required for green hydrogen, and that requires adapting, right? Adapting the current infrastructure, and this is repurposing as well the current resources, providing jobs to those that are already transitioning or being part of the transition from one energy to the green energy. So this just transition is a key element of these discussions, and there is the potential to repurpose.
That's a very good point, Carlos, and I would like to add the regional component. We've seen it today. Leading like benchmark, pioneering markets, regions can play an important role, and lessons learned can be adapted in other parts of the world. Good point. Shall we look at another one? I would say yes. Let's look at session 5. We had a minister in session 5 from the state of Thuringia in Germany. So we need innovation in business models and markets. We make the business case fly. We heard this again and again. In addition to that, we need to focus on the levelized cost of energy in the solutions we want to create. Aggregate demand has been an important part, and we need certainty for investors. That refers to the previous session as well, bankable. Make the projects bankable. Finally, those regions that will have high demand for green hydrogen do not tend to have the renewable capacity to produce it. And so we will need to turn to other regions where there's abundant renewables available. And I think that's another strong case for international collaboration.
You mentioned a very important point across the first 5 sessions is to bring in the cost down of energy. So we were privileged to also participate in a roundtable with the heads of states, and this came several times. And one of the points that was made by several countries is that actually this is possible. We can quickly bring the cost down only by looking to previous experiences when we have to initiate the penetration of renewable energies. The production cost and the cost of energy, for example, on solar PV, in wind energy, was extremely high not long ago, only 15 years ago, and now we can see very competitive prices. So the same lesson learned and the same measures that were taken to bring those costs down can be applicable as well to green hydrogen. So that is a very important also area of space and innovation.
Learning curves, the learning curves of technologies, very good example. By the way, we have to find a good way of making all the presentations available to the audience. We'll find it. All right, last one. Key takeaways from session 6. Now that's a strong statement, but that was given by one of the participants. Europe will never be able to become fully self-sufficient on renewables by a European participant. So geography is key, and transport by pipeline is much more practical than transport by ship or truck. It's much more cost effective in addition to that. Carlos, you mentioned it, the social case. The social component in the transformation. Think holistically, it's a system approach we need basically to do this. And then finally, that's something that's very close to our work, and I know the Innovation Hub is promoting that a lot, is we need technologies to make it through the TRLs quicker. They need to be market ready quicker. We need to, we need to enable emerging economies to access technologies right now, to scale them, to co-develop them right now. And then that's a nice term our team has compiled. We need to boost connectivity. I think that's pretty well summarized. Carlos, what have we forgotten? We need the action map. We need the roadmap to COP28.
Correct. But let me park a little bit on the social component. So we are talking about regions from Global South that have the potential to feed the demand by supplying green hydrogen, by developing and promoting a development agenda that will help leapfrog to areas that we don't know, to provide the opportunity to stimulate capacities and also to export from commodities to end green products. So there is a very important development component for the Global South. But also I wanted to emphasize that the discussions today also mention several times ammonia. And this ammonia is extremely connected to the food security and food production systems in general. One opportunity is also to improve the use of fertilizers in particularly in regions like Africa that are like today the example is that Holland or the Netherlands uses, if I remember the figure correctly, 14 kilograms per hectare in their agriculture production systems, and that makes Holland one of the most efficient, if not the most efficient agriculture setup in the world, whereas Africa and other regions in Global South use only 1/4 of this amount of fertilizers. So that means that if we are able to provide and lower the cost of fertilizers also for Global South, then the production potential for food systems can be significantly increased. So this is also a very sensitive development from the social point of view.
Thank you so much, Carlos. So what remains? Let me go back. We need a plan for the next year, for COP28. So what's on the agenda? What can people who follow the Innovation Hub look forward to?
Thank you so much. I just would like to mention that we have curated these sessions today already for a long time. We initiated these discussions, this design back in June at the SBs, and then we work in the ARC Festival that was put together by FCA. There we initiated the discussion on how can the Innovation Hub provide this innovation space so that it's impactful, is up to speed, and help countries to implement their green hydrogen quickly. To answer your question, is what we hear. We brought financiers, we brought the private sector, we brought the technology providers, but more importantly, we brought the countries, particularly those countries that are proven to have the largest production potential based on the geography. So what we want for COP28, we want to bring them together, we want to collaborate to help them improve capacities and to leapfrog to an agenda of development that will really enable them not only to produce green hydrogen, but to do it in a way that is aligned with the 1.5 of the Paris Agreement and the SDGs. I'm very fortunate because in this last part of the closing, I also see Massamba Thioye, our executive, coming, and Massamba would like to give few words at this closing part. I know that we are running out of time because we need to move to the next session, but Massamba, we would like really to hear from you on the closing remarks. What is our roadmap to COP28?
Thank you, and again, sorry for coming a little bit late. This is what is happening at COP. We are moving from one event to another. I was actually at the Innovation Action Zone and stuck there. Fortunately, I found a taxi driver who was willing to bring me forward because I did not have my pocket money with me. Yeah, so really very much pleased to have this session during that day because green hydrogen is something really important for us. As I have mentioned at the opening, the approach that we are taking at the Global Innovation Hub is really to be able to identify what are the priority innovation that need to take place, and then how we can support the development and upscale deployment of this innovative solution. And to do so, what we are doing, we are starting from the need of the people. And then we translate these needs into demand for climate and sustainability solution, and the value chain of the future that are identified, the value chain that are forward-looking, that will allow to satisfy the core human need while being aligned with the climate and sustainability goal. Those value chain, we try to identify the solution that will allow their development and their upscale deployment. So we have identified the value chain of green hydrogen as a value chain fundamental for the achievement of the SDGs and the achievement of the climate goal. And I guess today we have collected a lot of input, takeaway, that we can continue to work on so that we can contribute in the development and upscale deployment of this very important value chain. So thank you all for your time. Thank you all for your effort. I would like also to thank particularly FCA, our partner on this work. We have been working quite since now 2 years together. And this year the focus was on green hydrogen, and we are looking forward to continue this collaboration. And I don't know whether you have mentioned this, but we will have an ARC festival in the June session that will be a stepping point to what we will be doing at COP28 for green hydrogen. Again, thank you for your collaboration. Thank you for your support, very much appreciated, and looking forward to all contribute to the development of this very important value chain. Thank you. Back to you. Okay, so I think the next session, we would like to provide opportunity for students that have been awarded to share with us their work. What did they do, and what is the award that they have received. So I will immediately hand over to you. Who are these two students? Where are they? Okay, excellent. But I think you are in the same bus, actually. You are together in the same bus to go to the climate action. Yes, okay. So the micro is, and it's why I saw you running. I was in the same situation as you.
So nice to have met you in the bus first. I saw him here. I was wondering how he got here before me. So maybe he can teleport. So nice to see all of you here. My name is Prachi Shevgaonkar. I'm the founder of an app for climate action called Cool the Globe. It is especially an honor to be here because I remember entering COP27 and realizing that all of us have gathered here today to try and figure out how we can save the world through technology. And that's extraordinary. But do you remember why you are here? Why do you do what you do? I'm sure each one of you who are sitting here today have a very interesting story for why you got here and why you started working in this space in the first place. So let me start by telling you about my story. When I was 10 or 12 years old, I remember my school teacher gave me an interesting homework. She asked me to write a letter to my future self. 10 years from now, where would I want to be and who would I want to be? Now I wrote that letter and then completely forgot about it. And now 10 years later, I was at a very decisive point in life. I had to decide which career I was going to choose. And have any of you been to India before? Have you been to India? Yes. So all of you who've been to India might know that most of us Indians end up becoming either doctors or engineers. Now everyone in my family is an engineer, and I was about to become one too. But then I kept feeling like something isn't right. There's something more that I want to do. And that's when something interesting happened. My school teacher sent that letter back to me. The letter that I had written 10 years ago to my older self. And reading it was like a wake-up call. Because in it, I had written about changing the world and making an impact. And I had not thought that way in a very long time. So I got inspired by the words and the dreams of my younger self. And I began wondering what it is that an ordinary girl like me do to fight the big problems in the world. So one of the first things I did was to Google, what is the biggest problem in the world right now? Any guesses what came up? Yes, so climate change came up. And I saw that all the scientists, innovators, big organizations in the world like UNFCCC, they were all talking about how climate change is the most pressing problem in front of us today. But then why is it that my friends around me weren't talking about it? So I started reading up more about it. I read about coastal erosion, rising sea levels, changing temperatures, changing Indian monsoon, and I got really worried. But then I had a moment of honesty with myself, and I asked a simple question that I want to ask you today as well. Which one of you, I think that about 10 people here, how many of you care about climate change? Let's raise hands. I'm sure all of you do. But you'd be surprised when I ask this question back home, very few hands go up. And the only reason I wanted to ask that to you today was because for the first time I wanted to see a full house raising their hands up to this question. But I hadn't reached there yet when I asked myself that question. I had a moment of honesty with myself, and I thought, I don't think I care enough about this. I had enough on my plate. I was still in college. I had friends to make and extracurriculars, exams to give. I saw enough problems in front of me also, from poverty to gender issues to inequality. And I thought climate change is happening somewhere else, to somebody else, at some other part of the world. Why would I care about polar ice melting somewhere else? So I decided to think about my part of the world. And I took a year off to try and work in areas other than climate change. So I spent a few months traveling with farmers across my district, Maharashtra. I spent some months with waste workers, and they welcomed me in their homes and their workplaces. I spent some time with children. And it is when I did that I happened to meet some very real voices behind these catastrophic impacts of climate change. And I want to tell you about one of them today. So I was making a film on children and what their dreams look like. And I met a 12-year-old boy in a slum not very far from my home. And when I met him, I asked him a simple question. If you could get one wish and you can ask for anything in the world, what would you ask for? I would never forget his answer. He said, I would wish that my house wouldn't get flooded like it did last year. Now, that was the first time I realized that climate change is not about these big words that I read in the newspaper. As extreme weather events happen more frequently and more intensely, it can also mean that a 12-year-old boy like him has to worry about something as basic as a shelter above his head. And this I cared about. And as I traveled more, I met more and more people and realized that he is not alone. I also realized that as ordinary citizens, we care about very simple things. And so I want to ask you here, we've all gathered here today to address climate change. But forget about climate change for a minute. What do you care the most about in your day-to-day life? Give me some answers. What do you think you care the most about in your day-to-day life? Your family? Absolutely. Anything else? What do you care about? Social media? So do I. Okay. Who else? Any other answers? What do you care the most about? Oh, that's so nice. That's so interesting. Your garden and your cat. Wow. So I asked this question to more and more people around me, and the answers that I got were always similar. I realized that as ordinary citizens, we care about very simple things. We care about our homes, we care about our food, we care about our jobs and our livelihoods, and most importantly, we care about our family and the people around us. And gradually, as I went on ground to find work other than climate change, that I realized that climate change impacts all of these areas. And when I realized that it impacts the things I care about, that's when I asked myself the second question. What is it then that I can do about climate change? But that was a difficult one to answer. I didn't really know what can I do. So I went to my father and I asked him, what do you think an ordinary person like me can do about a big problem like this? And we decided as a family to take up a simple quest. We decided to try and reduce our own greenhouse gas emissions by 10% every year. And so I started researching on which actions of mine are leading to most emissions. Do we have any answers? Which actions of yours in your day-to-day life lead to most emissions? What do you? Heating, absolutely. What else? Cooling. Yes. As we cool, we also heat the world, yes. Yes, so I started looking at, yes, you had an answer? Food, absolutely, right. So I started looking for which are the areas in my life that are leading to most emissions. And how can I measure that? Because only when I realize the impact of my actions would I want to do something about it. And so we started doing this, and a few months later, something interesting happened, which is that I began to enjoy it. It felt good that at least at my own level, I was doing something. It almost became like a fun activity that I was doing with my family. And the second interesting thing was that my friends, my relatives, people around me began to take notice and ask how they could join us in this quest. So I began thinking about how can we mobilize global citizens with me on this individual quest I've taken on to reduce my own greenhouse gas emissions by 10% every year. And from this, the idea for Cool the Globe app was born. We decided to build an app to help people like you and I reduce our own emissions to a target. Now, I started thinking, not just climate action, but if I want to achieve anything at all, what are some things that I need? Let me ask you, what do you think, what are some of the things that we need to achieve any goal? What do you think? Determination, funding. The most important one came right away. What else? Hard work, absolutely. Anything else? Sorry? Targets, absolutely, yes. So this is what I realize as well, that I first need a clear target, a goal in front of me. And then I need to be able to measure my progress on that target. So that's how we build the app as well. As soon as a user comes in, they're given a monthly target to reduce their own greenhouse gas emissions. And then they can see hundreds of simple day-to-day actions they can take and the emissions they avoided by doing that. But then people started coming and asking, what difference can one person make? We believe that then when there are a lot of people like us coming together, then our collective impact can be very big. And to show that, we kept a global meter on the homepage of the app, which would show the emissions avoided by everyone combined. And that's the power of collective action. Now, throughout my college years, I worked on building this app. And by the time I graduated, it was launched. And that's when I realized that the real work starts now. We have this platform, but the real work is in bringing people on it. The real work is in convincing citizens that in the face of climate change, our actions matter and we can make a difference. And so we started making simple video campaigns from my dorm room on what the common man can do about climate change. And what happened next was something I could have never imagined. People shared them with each other and they shared them with even more friends. And before we knew it, over 4 million people from around the world were watching our dream for climate action. Through citizen-led grassroots movements like this, today we have users from 110 countries and they've collectively avoided over 2 million kg of greenhouse gas emissions. But this is just the beginning. The most rewarding part for me of this work is being able to get to meet ordinary people from corners of the world. The other day, a 9-year-old girl emailed me and she said, I don't have a phone yet, but I still want to be a part of this movement. And what change can I make in my own life to fight climate change? An 86-year-old woman called me and said that she had her granddaughter's wedding and she was going to buy new saris. Do you know what a sari is? Yes? Okay, I was going to wear one today to show you. But she was going to buy new saris for the event. Instead, she decided to reuse her own saris from her own wedding and recorded 15 kg of avoided emissions in the app by doing that. So as I meet people like this from around the world, I'm realizing that real change lies in the hands of us, the ordinary citizens. When I was in school, I used to think that I was born in a very boring time. You know, I used to read about the freedom fighters and the scientists and the innovators, and I used to think, why wasn't I born then? Today, after starting to work on climate change, I realized that I find myself at the cusp of my youth in perhaps some of the most defining decades of human existence. my actions today are going to impact generations to come. And this is not just a responsibility, but it's an opportunity to make an impact. It's an opportunity for all of us to change the world from our own homes. And so thank you so much for listening to me today. I want to go back to the question that I asked you in the beginning, if you remember. Why do you do what you do? And why are you here today? So I want to hear from some of you because that will inspire me. And the second part that I want to hear from you is how can we all work together to help cool the globe? Yes. Does anyone want to take the floor? Suhana, come. So I want to hear from you.
No, thank you. I think these are very inspiring words, and the fact that you share your experience is extremely good because you inspire us, and then we will also do the same and inspire others. I think it's really fantastic, and this mindset of contributor, of solution provider is exactly what we need. We need people that are willing to contribute. We need people that are willing to bring solution, that are solution provider. And at your question, why I'm doing what I'm doing, because I want to serve people. That's very important for me. Knowing that I can contribute in providing solution to people is central to my life. This is what motivates me more than anything else. Generally, I'm going at office on Saturday and Sunday. And my family, they are not happy with that. They are telling me, but why are you going at office on Saturday and Sunday? And my neighbor is also from the UNFCCC. They told me, look, our neighbor is not going at office on Saturday and Sunday. Why are you doing it? I say, okay, I'm doing it because for me, this is what gives a sense to my life. I want to feel that I'm contributing to serving people, and I'm not doing it because this is mandatory. I'm not doing it because I want my supervisor to be happy with me. I'm doing it because this is what makes me happy. This is my life. Somebody else?
I just wanted to, first of all, thank you very much, and really encouraging and inspiring to hear your enthusiasm and the innovation that you bring. It's extremely important, as you said. It's beyond a job, beyond an activity, so it's full of meaning, and what you have done is extremely powerful. And we hope that you can expand it and mobilize the support that it deserves. So thank you very much, Rachi, for coming here, for sharing this experience with us. I wish you all the very best.
Obviously, you did not respond to the question, but I'm sure that we have the same response.